We know that trans people are already facing immense hostility in the UK. We've seen a rise in transphobia and hate crime and this obsession about which toilet can people go in. I think the other thing is none of these arguments make sense, because if you start to ban a trans woman from a toilet, we know that a trans man is using a cis woman's toilet anyway, and vice versa. And so none of these things stack up, and the only logical conclusion is that some of these people who obsess about this issue will only be happy when trans people have nowhere that they can be in society, and that ultimately will result in the eradication of trans people's identities. And I think to most people in this country, most of which probably aren't paying a lot of attention to this argument, or it bemuses them slightly, just want a system that is fair, where people are treated with compassion and care.
Can a woman have a penis?
Yes. It's going to take them a long time on the National Health Service to get rid of it, but that's another separate problem.
All right. I think we'll leave it on a woman can have a penis.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So we had a panel discussion involving Piers Morgan and the Green Party Deputy Leader, Rachel Millward. They were discussing Zach Polanski's stance on women's spaces and allowing men who identify as women into women's spaces. And his stance was basically, why are women upset about trans-identified men coming into their spaces? Trans people aren't a threat to women and all of this.
Women are under threat from violence, but actually a woman is much more likely to be raped or abused by someone in her own family, and sadly her own partner. The threat to women is not trans people. Where there are examples where a trans person has committed a crime or done something heinous, then of course that should be dealt with, but they should be recognised as an individual. The very definition of racism, for instance, is to take one individual case, and map it across a whole community. And I think the same thing often happens with transphobia.
That's what he was pushing. And I always have to remind people that you can use whatever terminology you want to use. You can use whatever euphemisms you want to use. But what we are talking about is allowing men into women's spaces. Men. That's who we are talking about here. And when you use accurate language, it really does bring home exactly what you're asking women to be okay with. It really does bring home how dismissive men like this are towards real women and their need for safety and protection and their need for their single-sex spaces, which should come before gender identity or somebody feeling like a woman or men with fetishes. And Piers Morgan clashed with Rachel Millward because he wanted her to be clear on what she considers a woman to be. You would think, being a woman herself, she would know. So he asked the question, do women have penises? And of course, she couldn't answer. So in 2026, this is where we're at. We still have people denying the existence of women, denying the biological definition of women, and hence dehumanizing women. Because if anybody can be a woman, even men with penises, then what is a woman? How can you even claim that a woman exists? Using language such as cis, rather than just calling us what we are, women. So what I love is the response from the internet towards this woman who refused to acknowledge that women know we do not have penises. She tried to flip it on Piers and act as if he is the weird one, act as if he is the one being disingenuous for asking a simple question.
There's no love lost between you and Zach.
Do you think women have penises?
Do you know what, Piers? I think you have a uniquely strange obsession with people's genitalia.
It's a pretty straightforward question. Straightforward question.
I'm sorry, that's a weird question.
It's actually a straightforward question.
Piers, it's a weird question.
What's the answer? What's the answer?
The answer is the trans community in this country are treated appallingly. This is a vulnerable group of people. I'm sorry, you need to respect Piers.
That wasn't my question.
It's not.
You don't want to answer, do you?
I'm telling you that I think
you don't want to answer.
I'm telling you.
Because of the woman, you know it's ridiculous.
I know that you're being ridiculous.
Really?
Honestly.
Why
Let's hear from our audience.
So he's the one who is weird. He is the one who is obsessed with genitalia. He is the one who's questionable because he asked a simple biological question. This is a tactic that has been used for the longest time, and I am absolutely shocked to see that this tactic is still being used in 2026, trying to shame people for asking a basic question that anybody should be able to answer. So I love the response from the internet on this matter. People are not falling for this nonsense anymore. Give it up. It's not going to work. You're not going to guilt people into accepting what everybody knows is wrong. We don't have men coming into women's bathrooms willy-nilly, pun intended, and imposing themselves on women who rely on those private spaces for their safety, for their well-being, for their privacy. And likewise, I suspect men also need their own spaces, but statistically, it is women who need their own spaces, even more so than men, for safety reasons. And it is predatory men who are a threat, regardless of how they identify. And I keep saying this is what these people refuse to understand or refuse to accept. They love to push this idea that if somebody identifies as trans, apparently that takes away the threat. It's not trans women who are the threat. It's cis men. Well, guess what? A whole lot of cis men are going to be able to go into the women's bathroom when you have policies that say that somebody can identify their way into the women's bathroom. That opens the door to any man, regardless of his intentions. So these policies are reckless and they are endangering women. It's because of policies based on self-identity rather than biological sex. You can have male predators convicted of crimes against women and children sharing prison spaces with women, with female inmates. We've had female inmates assaulted. This is how far it has been taken. Women in cells with sexual predators, men who have harmed women and children. That is put aside simply because of gender identity. And this is what the internet had to say about this foolishness. This woman should be embarrassed. And I think, quite rightly so, she is being dragged all over the internet for her ridiculous take on this. So Rachel Millward reposted this part of the discussion and she said, "Really, at Piers Morgan, you do have a weird obsession with people's genitalia." That's what she had the nerve to say, as if he is in the wrong for trying to get her to admit that, of course, women do not have penises. If you have a penis, you're a man. It's very simple. Piers responded, "Read the comments, read the room, do a biology class, then answer my question." Because apparently she's going to have to do all of that to even get to a point where she can answer the question. And it still won't help her because she won't answer the question. She refuses. She will use every deflection tactic that she's been taught to use in these sort of debates. And that's what she's doing. She said, "You actually okay there, Piers?" And he said, "Just answer the question, Rachel. Can women have penises, as your leader says?"
Can a woman have a penis?
Yes. It's going to take them a long time on the National Health Service to get rid of it, but that's another separate problem.
All right. I think we'll leave it on a woman can have a penis. People can
I think you're lacking nuance and complexity about a pretty complicated
Not really. You couldn't have been clearer.
I'm clear, because actually when you want to look at the science...
You were crystal clear. Ask a simple question.
But you're laughing at it, which I think demeans
I think it's
trans people.
Absolutely ridiculous.
What have you got against trans people? Why are you punching down? Why are you not saying
nothing against
the real
trans
problem
people?
in this
I've already
country?
told you that I think trans people...
You sound like you have a huge problem with trans people.
No. It sounds to me like you don't understand what a woman is, which I think is a huge problem for someone leading a party in this country.
A woman is a gender.
Sorry?
You said, what's a woman?
No, a woman is a gender.
And gender is complicated.
No.
Gender is a spectrum.
It's not complicated. A woman is a biological...
Is gender a spectrum? Is it that binary?
Do you think people are born male and female?
Not necessarily.
Oh, for God's sake.
I think it's more complicated than that.
It's not more complicated, Zach.
Well, it's not more complicated than that if you're a TV show host who wants to make it binary and ridiculous.
Zach, you're going to have to work this stuff out,
if you want to have a
mate,
nuanced conversation that actually reflects science
when I asked you if you
and
want to
information...
when I asked you if you want to be Prime Minister, there is not a cat in hell's chance of you ever becoming Prime Minister if you don't know what a woman is.
Well, you'll see us going up in the polls. We're the most favourable party in London right now, so let's see about
Why do you start going out tomorrow with your big campaign that women can have penises?
I'm going to be going out tomorrow with my big campaign about...
Harry Eccles is using a label that, quite frankly, isn't very significant these days, because apparently you're a transphobe when you acknowledge the existence of women. Well done at Rachel Millward for your common sense and compassionate response to his nonsense. And this has now been removed, but somebody said, "Well, do you think trans people don't deserve rights?" Something to that effect. And he responded, "I think trans people deserve the same rights to equality, fairness and safety as anyone else. But women don't have penises, and those who pretend otherwise are damaging women's rights. Why is this controversial?" Very well said. I don't agree with Piers on everything. I've said this multiple times. I agree with him in his support of Arsenal, and I agree with him on his stance when it comes to men in women's spaces and women's sports and that sort of thing. The UK Equality Act affords people sex-based rights. So yes, men do have rights, and we're not taking away their rights by saying that they can't go into women's spaces. They've got their own spaces. That's the point. And Sal, she had time today, and she set this woman straight. If someone asks you, do you think women have penises? And your immediate answer isn't hell no, you will proceed to sound like a moron for refusing to answer something with only one obvious answer. Owen said, obsessing over people's genitals is weird, actually. And Sal responded, saying women can have a penis is weird, actually. The people who currently say women can have a penis will eventually claim they never said it. It's inevitable. Let's get one thing perfectly clear. The people who are obsessed with genitals are the ones saying that women can have a penis. To say that it's an obsession, to say that it's weird, to acknowledge the biological makeup of a woman, those are the weird ones. Those are the ones who are obsessed. They are obsessed with pushing their ideology on everybody to the point where they're willing to embarrass themselves and refuse to answer a simple question. They are willing to lie in order to push their ideology on people, in order to push their obsession on people. They are so taken in by this ideology that they are willing to endanger women and girls. This is what a weak woman looks like, referring to Rachel. She knows women don't have penises, but she's unable to say it because the boys in dresses will get mad at her. So instead, she's playing the TRA game, trying to make out that the question itself is unreasonable and that there's something wrong with the person asking it. That's what abusers do. Yep, this is gaslighting, to say the least. It's trying to shame somebody for simply acknowledging a simple point, and it's trying to silence people. Obviously, Piers is not going to be silenced, but she's trying to silence him and shame him. And especially as a straight white man, she's trying to demonize him. Oh, he must be some sort of pervert, asking about genitalia, asking about women's genitalia. Oh my goodness. That's what she's trying to do. It is sick. And it's the women who are being erased from legislation. It's the women who are being erased from their own sports, from their own spaces, in the workplace, even in prisons. It's continuing to happen. And women like Rachel are certainly not helping. Yet she'll get a pat on the back by the men in dresses. Clearly, they are her priority. My child asked me, what is 2 + 2? And I brilliantly shut them down by accusing them of having uniquely strange obsession with mathematics. Ah, the old classic. That's creepy. Why are you obsessed with other people's genitalia? Straight out of the TRA playbook. And has been for years. Textbook deflection. Feeble, utterly feeble. No one's falling for it anymore. Give it up. Give it up. And stop subjecting people to this nonsense. The Supreme Court, where it counts, acknowledged that in order to be a woman, you have to be biologically female. That a piece of paper doesn't make a man a woman and therefore able to infringe upon women's rights. Journalists should keep asking, at Rachel Millward, the question she doesn't want to answer. This is what J.K. Rowling said last year. I believe it was in reference to Keir Starmer and these politicians who tell women that they should be okay with men coming into their spaces. She said the number of men who don't see women as fully human can be measured by their indifference to trans-identified males invading women's spaces. What's the harm? They shrug. Who's it hurting? Women. It's hurting women. And the essence of misogyny is thinking that doesn't count. And in reference to Keir Starmer appointing Harriet Harman as an advisor on women and girls, she said, bravo, Keir Starmer, for getting an advisor on women and girls who thinks the definition of women and girls includes men and boys. That'll definitely win back people who believe Labour's a party for smug, lanyard-wearing, luxury belief espousing cultural elitists. As far as I'm concerned, women are women who were born women, but women are also women who were trans women. Harriet Harman, 2002. You cannot defend what you're afraid to define. So it's very disheartening when we hear women who deny our existence, but it's even more disturbing when we hear women who influence legislation saying the same thing. These women have been put in positions to look out for the interests of women and girls, but their priority are men. Men who want to replace women and girls. Men who want to erase women and girls from legislation. So yes, clearly Rachel Millward, for some reason, she thinks she's doing a good thing. She thinks she's standing up for the disenfranchised, while advocating for men, many of whom happen to be straight white men. These are the disenfranchised that this woman is talking about. And I'm glad that people are holding her accountable and not buying into this nonsense anymore. And if you can't answer a simple question about basic biology and then go on and make your point, you are the one who has discredited yourself. Pointing the fingers at others isn't going to work. So let me know what you think. Do you think Rachel was looking out for the disenfranchised? Do you think she has a point? Do you think women have penises? Hopefully this video will not be demonetized. Hopefully it will be counted as a biology lesson, a very basic biology lesson. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves and God willing, I will see you in the next video.